Welcome, wherever you are, however your day has been. You're invited now to let go. Let the noise of modern life grow soft and distant. Let the past slowly rise around you like a quiet mist, and step gently into another time. Tonight, we travel back to the 19th century, to the cobbled, soot-darkened alleys of Victorian Britain. Not the grand drawing rooms, nor the polished carriages of Queen Victoria's court, but the slums, the narrowest streets, the coldest hearths, the world of the forgotten many. You walk through a day in the life of someone who never made the history book. Bidford, you'll meet a man whose words shaped an empire, and whose fall echoed in silence. You'll explore the ghost of a place long since buried beneath soot and smoke, and you'll glimpse the world of those who feasted while others starved. Let your mind drift, your body soften. There's no need to remember names or dates. Just follow the sounds of dripping rain on slate, the scrape of boots on cobblestones, and the quiet rhythm of lives lived long ago. Let us begin. Imagine this. You wake to the cold breath of dawn in a room no bigger than a horse stall. The window is cracked, but not open glass is expensive, and even broken panes are a luxury. A low fog clings to the inside of the glass, and your breath hangs in the air. The ceiling leaks when it rains. It rained last night. You share this room with 6 others, a mother, 2 younger siblings, a grandmother, and to strangers. There's no door between you and them, just a threadbare blanket nailed to the frame. There's no plumbing, no sink, no toilet. A single bucket in the corner serves more than one purpose. Bar the floor beneath you, uneven, dusty, cold, once held straw, now long worn away by years of shuffling feet. The smells are constant. Coal smoke, unwashed fabric, stale bread, and underneath it all, something damp, always damp. You but because the factory bell rings through the fog, reminding you that walk waits for no one. You're 11 years old, or maybe 14. It hardly matters. Pose. You splash cold water on your face from a tin bowl. It was fetched from the public pump last night, after a wait of nearly an hour. There's no breakfast. If you're lucky, there may be a crust of bread. Or a sliver of potato pie from the night before. Tea, if your mother saved a spoonful. Now, out onto the street. The sun barely lifts behind the fog. The cobbles are slick with rain and refuse. The gutters are open. You step carefully. Though there's no clean step to be had, you pass a man selling a barefoot girl with a bruised apple in her hand. A boy, asleep beneath a doorway, wrapped in newsprint. Beau, younger than you, all older somehow. At the corner, a water seller hawks cloudy cups for a penny. Next to him, a baker's boy tosses burnt crusts to a stray dog. The dog growls, You keep walking. You reach the factory gate. A sign above them warns against idling. You don't idle. Inside, the machines groan and hiss. The air is thick with lint and steam. The overseer's stick taps a rhythmic warning against the stone floor. The rhythm of labor. The rhythm of survival. 8 hours pass, or 10, or 12. You lose track. When you emerge again, your clothes are damp with sweat and grime. You're too tired to play, too tired to think. You pass the cholera cart near the end of your lane. A man is shouting names. You do not stop. Back in your room. The others are already asleep. The bucket is full. Your little brother coughs in his sleep, a rattling wheeze that hasn't gone away. You lie down, wrap your arms around your knees, and listen to footsteps outside, to dripping water from the ceiling, to the breath of others sleeping in the same stale air. Tomorrow will be the same, and the day after, and the one after that. And yet, this is not tragedy. Not always there is laughter here, too. Shared crusts. A song hummed beneath breath. A sister's hand held in the dark. Even here, in the poorest corners of the richest empire, life persists, quiet, unnoticed, enduring. And now, leave this room behind. Let the fog swallow it once more when you're ready. We'll move on to the story of a man who tried to change this world and paid dearly for it. As the slum fades behind us, the fog clears just enough to reveal another figure. A quiet man with a heavy coat and a heavier purpose. His name is Charles Booth, and unlike the factory worker or the match girl, he came not from the slums, but was drawn to them. Not out of pity, not out of horror, but out of something quieter, a kind of methodical curiosity, a desire to know, to map, to understand. Born in Liverpool in 1840, Booth was a businessman first, a ship owner, a man of numbers and ledgers. But as he moved through the halls of trade, through boardrooms and banquets, he began to suspect something, that the story the empire told about itself was incomplete. In 1885, Booth listened as politicians debated poverty. They cited numbers low one. They claimed only a small fraction of London's people lived in true destitution. Booth disagreed. He did not argue. Instead, he began to walk with a small team of researchers, clergy, and reformers. Charles Booth set out to conduct one of the most ambitious social studies in British history. Not with surveys, but with his eyes and his feet. He visited street after street, block after block, from Westminster to Whitechapel, from Hampstead Heath to the docks of Limehouse. They recorded everything. Housing conditions, employment status, wages, health, moral reputation, as judged by local policemen. Booth's maps became famous, or infamous. Each street was shaded from golden yellow, for the too dark blue and black, for the poorest, vicious, and semi-criminal was the label given to some streets. Others simply read chronic want. Buy. But Booth wasn't just mapping poverty. He was challenging an idea. The comforting idea that poverty was rare. That those who suffered were lazy. That the city was clean beneath its fog. His life and labor of the people in London was not a thrilling bestseller. It was dry, detailed, sprawling. 21 volumes of painstaking social anatomy. But in its pages, history was made. Booth's work influenced lawmakers, but gave ammunition to reformers. It nudged public opinion, and yet for all his efforts, for all the walking and documenting and careful shading, poverty persisted. He'd revealed the scale of the suffering, but he could not stop it. In his later years, Booth grew quieter still. P moved to the countryside. His eyesight failed. His energy waned. When he died in 1916, the world was at war, and the slums he had mapped were still there, largely unchanged, but his work remained, a lantern in the fog, proof that someone had looked and recorded and cared enough to mark it street by street. Imagine him now, a thin man with spectacles, standing at the edge of a narrow pool, his notebook open, his pencil tapping softly against the page. Another street to map, another life to witness, and from here, we drift onward, not forward in time, but deeper, bind the streets, to the forgotten corners of the past, to an archaeology not of ruin, but of buried life. Pitch the lost rooms beneath London, archaeology of the forgotten poor, beneath the cobblestones of modern London, beyond the rush of traffic and hum of the underground. There are remnant, faint, delicate traces of lives, not recorded in books, not memorialized in statues, but once as real, as loud, and as human as your own breath in the dark. In this segment, we descend, not into myth, but into excavation. Archaeology in London is rarely glamorous. There are no golden pharaohs here, no vast stone temples. Instead, the discoveries are quieter. A rusted tin spoon, a child's leather boot shrunken with time, a chamber pot cracked but intact, clay pipes worn smooth by anxious hands, and yet each of these is a doorway. Let us enter one. Imagine a tenement basement, unearthed beneath a building project in Southwark. A room with no window. The floor is packed earth, now solid with time. The walls are thin brick, and between them archaeologists find charred wood, a sign of a cooking fire, not in a fireplace, but in the middle of the room. There are soot marks on the ceiling, a blackened kettle, and near the wall, a collection of oyster shells. Oysters cheap once, the food of the poor. You can almost hear the scrape of the shell, the muttered complaints. Be tired silence between two people, sharing a meal of salt and brine. After a long day, they slept nearby. Their mattress, perhaps, was nothing more than straw in a corner. Bleth, and the smell of damp earth, cooking fat, body odor, mildew, hung thick and constant. Above them, life continued. Carriages rolled past. Factory whistles sounded. But down here, only the soft shuffle of survival in another excavation near Whitechapel. Archaeologists find dozens of ceramic jars. They once held cheap gin. Nearby, pieces of bun cooked. Perhaps Nord suggests a meal made of scraps. A tin toy soldier, its paint faded. A button from a child's coat. The heel of a woman's boot, split and repaired with wire. No names are attached. No documents remain. And yet, the story unfolds. Here lived the poor of London. Not the criminal underworld of popular fiction. Not the stylized gloom of penny, but ordinary people with hunger in their bellies and tiredness in their bones. The city above changed, but the layers below remained. What makes these discoveries so poignant is their invisibility, not to the eye, but to history. For centuries, the poor were only written about by others, seen only through the filters of judgment or reform. Archaeology tells their story more gently, without agenda, without spectacle. Just a cracked dish here, a comb there, a fire grate barely clinging to its iron frame. In one excavation near the docks, researchers uncovered a single room, 6 feet wide, a floor made of wooden planks, rotted and bowed, and at the center, a child's doll, its porcelain face, still whole, a doll perhaps passed from sibling to sibling, or found in the street, brought home as treasure, a cump in a life that offered few. Even now, over a century later, the room speaks of silence, of struggle, and so we rise slowly from the ground, from the darkened cellars, from the broken bricks and buried shoes. We emerge blinking into the daylight, where another world waits, not beneath, but above, not of want, but of wealth. Because not everyone in Victorian London suffered. Some lived very differently indeed, behind velvet curtains. A day in the life of a Victorian lady, while the match girls worked through the cold dawn, and Charles Booth paced the soot-lined streets. Another rhythm carried on, softer, more rehearsed, and deeply choreographed. It is morning in an upper-class townhouse. Imagine yourself now, not in a cellar, but in a room of soft carpets and cream-colored walls. The windows are large, tall enough to catch sunlight even on a foggy day. Outside, the world clatters by. But here, all is muffled. The fire crackles gently. A maid has been in already, stoked the hearth, laid out the garments, poured hot water into a porcelain bowl for washing. You are a lady of the house, or perhaps a guest. Either way, your hands are soft. Pull your shoes have never touched mud. Breakfast is served in a private sitting room. Pale toast, gently buttered. a boiled egg in its silver cup, Darjeeling tea, poured from a pot, wrapped in a cozy. You do not cook. You do not clean. Beneath Ubooth, literally and socially, the household staff moves like clockwork. Butler, cook, scullery maid, governess, laundry girl, each with their duty, each aware of the hours, the rules, the silence. The rhythm of your day is measured and calm. After breakfast comes correspondence, perhaps replying to an invitation for a dinner at the Westons. Or a charity committee meeting. Then dressing, truly dressing with layers of petticoats, corsets, stockings, gloves. A lady's maid assists, her fingers practiced precise. Then a promenade. You do not walk briskly, you stroll. The park is quiet, orderly. Carriages pass. Gentlemen tip their hats. No one runs. No one shouts. In the afternoon, there may be lessons, French or drawing, or music with a tutor, or visits. You sit on brocaded furniture. A tray is brought, indelicate china, scones cut into neat halves. Conversation never raises the voice. Even laughter is restrained. You speak of art, of fashion, of news filtered through the Times and the drawing room. There is beauty, to be sure, but also confinement. This is a life bound by decorum, by what is proper, by expectation. You are dressed but not comfortable. You are pampered but not free. Even marriage, especially marriage, is not always a matter of affection, but of arrangement, of alliance. As evening falls, the world becomes candlelit. Dinner is a formal afferent courses, perhaps more. You know where to place your hands, which fork to use, when to laugh lightly at a gentleman's comment. The air smells of roasted pheasant, wine, and perfume. The chandeliers shimmer, but beneath it all, stillness. Conversation must not be too lively, gestures too broad. Everything is correct, and quiet, and still. And then, as the clock nears midnight, you return to your room, a fire still crackling, your nightgown warmed near the hearth. The maid helps you undress, folds your garments, brings you warm drink perhaps, milk with nutmeg. Outside, the city is never truly silent, but here it feels close. The curtains are drawn, the candles are out, and somewhere across the city, a match girl sleeps in a stairwell. A factory worker limps home. A child clutches a cracked doll in a cellar room. 2 Londons, 1 city, one shadowed by soot and struggle, the other cushioned in velvet and etiquette. And yet, both have faded now, left behind in photographs, in letters, in cracked plates and faded fabrics. The gaslights have gone out. The horses replaced by steel. The silence remains echoes in the fog. The world of Victorian London has slowly slipped away behind us, not with a clang or clatter, but like mist rolling back from the quiet surface of a river. Weave wandered through the narrow lanes of the East End, felt the cracked cobblestones beneath worn boots, and listened to the distant toll of factory bells, bird rhythm marking the long, unyielding days of lives largely forgotten. We've stepped into the shadows of history, into rooms dark with soot and sorrow, yet still echoing with the breath and warmth of real people. People who worked, who waited, who endured. And then we arose to the other London of silver teaspoons and silk slippers, of handwritten invitations and soft-voiced conversations in well-furnished parlors. A city split not only by bricks, but by silence. One silence came from hunger, the other from etiquette. Both shaped by the time they lived in. Both now gone. The tenement walls have long since crumbled. The horse-drawn carriages are still, and the gas lamps that once flickered through the fog have given way to neon and hum. But if you listen closely, beneath the soft rustle of your blanket, beneath the low hum of modern life outside your window, you might still hear it require steady rhythm of lives long past, the worn footsteps on a narrow stair, the faint creak of a wooden floor in a basement room, the scratch of a pen across thick paper in a Kensington drawing room. Peace history doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, and sometimes, when you let it, it sings you gently to sleep. So close your eyes now, and let the soot and silver of that long-ago city fade, as you drift softly out of the past and into rest. Good night from Napoleon's Naptime. We'll see you again soon for another slow walk through the stories that time forgot.